Welcome in to the Wednesday edition of Morning Jocks here on JOX 94.5. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until 7 o'clock. And I know I just said it's Wednesday, and to a lot of us, it is. It's just another Wednesday. We're happy to wake up and see the sunrise here momentarily over the Magic City. But this Wednesday is Transfer Portal Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
The Transfer Portal is officially back open for the spring cycle in the world of college football. So as we know, Nico Iamaleava going to be one of those names that we see hopping in the portal. We've already seen a couple of other names. I mentioned a couple of defensive backs from Auburn yesterday that had announced their plans to hit the transfer portal. We already have one pretty big move here in the SEC. If you remember Jaden Ott, the running back from Cal, and really a bizarre situation because Cal had, I believe, 4 running backs enter the transfer portal yesterday. Count 4. That's a lot. Jaden Ott, the best of the bunch, did some really nice things there at Cal. We all remember when he was talking maybe a little too much smack about Auburn before that game a couple of years ago, and it didn't go the way that he was expecting it to. But he has already found himself a new home, and this was the thought when he entered the portal or announced that he was going to enter the portal. But Jaden Ott lands at Oklahoma. So Oklahoma now with a bit of a retooling of their offense with John Mateer coming over, one of the best quarterbacks, in my opinion, in all of college football. Now you have Jaden Ott, who's one of the better running backs, especially if he's back healthy and maybe a little rejuvenated playing here in the SEC. You got to feel pretty good about what you've got there, and you're not going to have 6 wide receivers hurt this year, surely. So a lot of good things pointing up for Oklahoma right now. So that's a team that I think might be flying a little under the radar going into next year just because of, certainly didn't have a very memorable first season in the SEC, but we've already seen some pieces falling together there for the Sooners here early in the portal cycle. So it's going to be a big day, and really next couple of days are going to be big here. And we'll keep you up to date on everything going on JOX 94.5.
And to your point about, the Cal running backs, you know who their offensive coordinator is, right?
Yeah, it's Brian Harsin.
Yeah. So either are they going air raid or something, or did they look at the run game and was like, nah, I ain't really feeling this. But it is kind of funny. I mean, especially
it's funny.
All the issues they had at Auburn.
Yeah.
And it's like as soon as he got there and after the spring portal opens, 4 running backs from the roster hit the portal. Like, man, what you doing up there, coach?
Yeah, it's not a good look for him because we know he can't recruit high school kids or doesn't want to, and now he can't recruit his own roster. So good luck there in the ACC, Coach Harsin. We're just having some fun here on a Wednesday morning. But as I said, we'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the portal, not only here each and every morning, but of course, they're going to bring you the latest on McElroy and Kublik in the morning and 3-man front throughout the day as well. We do have a little bit more news on the Nico front. I mentioned him briefly there at the beginning. And this is some interesting news, not all that surprising, Damian, but I'm certainly, I think we're both happy that this is the direction it's trending because it looks like somebody's learning a lesson right now. And so there's a report that comes out from Pete Nakos again, from On3 Sports, who he was the one that kind of started all of this last week with the initial report about renegotiating the NIL deal. He got dragged through the mud. It turns out that he was right the whole time. And we actually had him on 3-man front on Monday to kind of share his perspective on how this whole thing went down. But he's been following up on the story with updates on the Nico situation. And he reported yesterday evening that multiple schools are in the mix for Nico, but there's a caveat. And the caveat is that they would like to make Nico a part of their program for about $1 million. And if you remember why this whole thing got started in the first place, it's because he was looking to make $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just do some simple math here, he was making reportedly $2.2 million last year at Tennessee. So now he's looking at a situation where not only is he not going to get the $4 million that he wanted all along, he might end up playing for less than half of what Tennessee was already paying him if he had just kept his mouth shut and stayed there. So, Damian, your thoughts? I know you're probably not going to have much sympathy for Nico in this situation. I wouldn't.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is exactly what you get. What did DJ Khaled say? Congratulations, you played yourself, because that's exactly what you did. when you hit the portal anyway, you essentially were telling everybody that, okay, the 2.5 isn't enough. And what school did you think, in the grand scheme of it all, what school did you think was going to give you 4? Like, just to start the negotiations from 4? Because we've seen you play. And again, in a system that is made for the quarterbacks to be successful, like for the quarterback to put up numbers. We've seen Hendon Hooker. It's bad when you're being compared to Joe Milton, and you were worse than Joe Milton was in this offense. And I'm, no shot at Joe Milton, but he was a 6th-round draft pick.
I've seen more praise for Joe Milton in the last 5 days from Tennessee fans than I ever did when he was on campus.
Exactly. Yeah. And you played worse than he did. So your resume speaks for itself. Everybody's seen what you've done on the football field, and everybody was like, man, Tennessee's overspending. And now that you're in the portal, you're looking around, and the grass ain't always greener, my brother, and you're getting the full dose of that now. And no, congratulations, you played yourself. And, Fat Joe said yesterday's price is not today's price. Well, today's price ain't yesterday's price either, because the price that you're about to be paying for, you're taking a pay cut, and probably, not even probably, in a lesser situation than you had at Tennessee. Like, you were playing in the SEC, the best conference in college football, making reportedly $2.5 million. And now you're about to be playing in lesser competition for less money to basically prove your worth again. And who's to say that he don't hit the transfer portal again? We saw what TJ Finley did his entire career in college. This could be another Nico situation. And I think that you look at the landscape of college football, you didn't know how good you had it until you left. And the way that, these coaches talk, and the way that you turned your back against Tennessee, you didn't communicate with them, you skipped practice, don't tell any of your teammates, that's going to rub people the wrong way. You talent-wise, yeah, we'll love to have, a lot of teams will love to have you in the door, but they're going to have to check you as soon as, they're going to have to do their vetting process of, okay, how committed are you to the team, or is this just a money grab? And again, it's an unfortunate situation to find himself in. But at some point, he has to make the grown man decisions. He can't listen to the people in his camp saying, all right, let's go get this bread, man. Go find the biggest bag that you can get. Because at some point, you have to go out there and perform at a high level so that you're worth the money that you're given.
No, you're absolutely right. I think you absolutely nailed it there. And the reality with Nico was, if you're... Look, I am all for capitalism in the sense that, right, if you can make money doing something, if you have a worth that is attached to you and a skill or a service that you can provide, you'd be stupid not to take people up on that, right? Even if we don't agree with the dollar amounts, if somebody out there wants to pay you to be their quarterback, you take that money. But when you're already overpaid from the standpoint of you're not worth what you're getting right now, why on earth would you feel the need to push the boundaries to get on thinner ice than you already are for a little bit extra money? And I understand the greed side of it, but there has to be a certain level of self-awareness that goes along with this too. And I know, there are a lot of people out there that have had their sympathies for Nico. And while I feel bad for him in the sense of, it's really unfortunate if a lot of this stuff is how it appears and it's coming from his dad who's giving him bad advice. I feel bad for him in that regard. He deserves to have a parent that's looking out for his best interest. And based on what we know, it doesn't necessarily seem like that's the case right now. And so from that standpoint, I do have some sympathy for him. But at the same time, with a lot of these kids, right, you wanted to be paid like an adult. You wanted to be treated like an adult. You wanted to be treated more like an employee than a student. All right. Emphasis on the athlete, not the student part of student athlete. That's what you wanted. All right. And you got that. That comes with adult responsibilities, right? To whom much is given, much is expected. And if somebody's giving you $2.2 million, they're going to expect a lot out of you. And when you don't live up to the billing, that's the nature of being an adult, right? Somebody agreed to pay you that money, so they are going to pay you that money. That's how it works. Now it's on you to uphold your end of the bargain and try to make good on that promise that they made you and that commitment they made you. Because we knew coming out of high school, it was a who's going to pay them the most situation. So Tennessee knew what they were getting themselves into. But they took a chance on a kid from California. They flew him out here. They went toe-to-toe with the NCAA to try to protect this kid last year. And this is how you repay them. not by going in the portal in December when you reportedly were having concerns and this whole situation started. No. You wait until the last day of spring camp. The last day, you hold your teammates hostage, knowing that when you leave, they're not going to have anywhere to turn to. That's when you decide to leave because you feel like that's going to give you the most leverage and force them to crack and pay you the money you want, not because you're worth it, but because you don't think they have anywhere else to go. And Josh Heupel looked at him and said, no. Nope.
I'm here for it.
We're not doing that. And I'm absolutely here for it too. And I just hope that, look, I don't want this to ruin a guy's career, right? I hope that, we're talking about Nico in the NFL a decade from now and how great he is. And this was a funny story that we look back on as, man, that was a bad time in college sports. But look, it all worked out at the end, right? I truly do hope that for him. But I also hope that he does end up going to a smaller school. And I hope he's making a fraction of what he was going to make at Tennessee or what he was pushing Tennessee to pay him to renegotiate his contract, because it'll be a lesson to everybody that the grass is certainly not always greener. And for a quarterback, that is the other thing, for a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the SEC to go through this, I think this is the kind of thing that you needed, because no offense to any other position, but nobody cares if this is an offensive lineman holding out, right? They don't. But it's a quarterback that everyone's familiar with from a prominent college football brand. And even that, you reached a certain point where even the quarterbacks of the elite programs in college football don't have all the leverage. And that's what I'm happy about there. So we will see how this situation transpires. I, for one, believe that this is going to drag out a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe it's resolved here by the end of the week, but it seems like a situation where it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game for him and for other teams as well that are seeing how low they can drive the price before they have to finally go and stroke a check for this kid, because, he is a little bit of a liability on top of the fact that, you now just missed out on a spring with your new team and your new teammates to get acclimated and learn the offense, and you're behind the 8 ball now, wherever you end up.
Yep.
So, sorry, I guess, but you did it to yourself. So
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%, because I look at it from this perspective. At some point, Nico has to look himself in the mirror. Like, it's hard for me to process how Nico can look himself and his performance in Tennessee this past season and have the testicular fortitude to walk into Tennessee officials and say, I want more. Like, if I was Josh Heupel, I probably would have to say, like, dude, do we need to get you psychologically evaluated?
I was about to say, you got a concussion? Yeah. What's
like,
going on here?
Do I need to pull up the tape? Like, do we need to pull? Yeah, we won the Alabama game, but we do need to see exactly why we were in the position we were in. Do I need to pull up Arkansas and just, okay, at what point do you think that you're worth $4 million? Like, big dog, that's not how it goes. It's just not. He played average in the SEC. And I'm actually being generous by saying average in a system that is made for the quarterback to be exceptional. Like, just by the spacing of the field and the routes that are being ran, Josh Heupel had to essentially say, I have to give the ball to Dylan Sampson every play, because if I leave it up into your hands, I don't know where the ball may go. And against competition outside of, the NC States or the UT Chattanoogas, he played subpar. Like, he was. I was having internal discussions even the past couple of days of, was he even better than Peyton Thorne last year? And
I mean, he was, but
barely. And I don't think I would have thought it would have been a quarterback competition if Peyton Thorne would have been at Tennessee, because Nico, to me, you were already getting overpaid at Tennessee. And the fact that you would even start a conversation with Tennessee officials of, oh, I want $4 million. Like, I would have never had the conversation with. I've been looking at him like, hey, big dog, this is not even a discussion. And again, you see the reports of his dad, and you see the article yesterday where he was essentially shopping his little brother around when he was his last year of high school. And it's strictly a bag situation. And when his younger brother was deemed ineligible, he flipped his commitment from UCLA to Arkansas, had never even visited. It was literally just a money grab. And I'm just sitting there like, oh man, like you really are you're really dictating your kids' lives. You're living vicariously through your kids. And really and truly, you have to look at your kids and what they're doing on the football field and saying, you know what, you just need to go to the best situation where your talent can be maximized. And also Nico has to be a better quarterback.
Yeah, it's almost like and it's not funny because it's sad, but it's almost turning into I guess almost like a more adult or like a college version of Baby Gronk. Like if you know that situation
exactly.
and what his dad does with him, it's horrible. I mean, it's a small child that you are, touring around like he's a circus freak essentially, but he's an athlete. And that's what you want to do so that you can have attention and you can have money and you can feel good about yourself as a person because like you said, you're living vicariously through your children. And it's sad. It's not a good situation. And yeah, I don't know where you go from here. I can imagine that's a difficult conversation to have with your pops and be like, hey, I got to do my own thing here. But I think for Nico, that would certainly don't think that would hurt, right? If he was able to find himself in a situation where it was, let me separate myself from this. Let me get back to the actual game of football. And maybe that's what this will do, right? Maybe this will teach him and force him to go somewhere where it's going to be you're not playing at Tennessee anymore, buddy. You're not playing in the SEC. You're not playing in the Big Ten. How much do you really love football, right? If you love football, then you'll go to this group of 5 school and take $500,000. Oh God, you're only making $500,000 as a college kid. Boo-hoo. And you will figure it out. You'll put together a good season. And then next year you will have an opportunity to go somewhere else and get back, to the Power Four. But yeah, based on, everything that just comes out about this story, it continues to not look great as a situation as a whole. But again, these kids want to be adults. They want to be paid like adults. And so you're going to be treated like an adult. And that includes the people that you surround yourself with. And unfortunately, when that includes a parent, I can imagine that's an incredibly difficult situation, but you got your money and Tennessee didn't get what they expected in return. And so they said, see you later. So a lot of you continuing to chime in here. This is the story that's leading the way in college football, has been for the last week, but we'll continue to talk about this Nico situation. We see you on the phone lines, John, a bunch of you texting in 205-834-9450. If you have some thoughts you want to continue to weigh in about the Nico Iamaleava situation, and we will continue down that path when we return here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 622, welcome back in. Morning Jocks here on your Wednesday morning. Conrad, Damian here with you till 7 o'clock. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Continuing to talk about the Nico Iamaleava situation as well as the other just general transfer portal news, as the transfer portal did officially open this morning for the spring portal cycle of college football. And so a lot of you calling in and texting in on that. But we do have some news in the college basketball world quickly as well, as it was announced yesterday, or officially announced yesterday, that you are going to get a rematch of a game we got earlier this year in the non-conference. Is Alabama and Purdue will face off again early next basketball season, and it'll be a home game for the Crimson Tide as the Purdue Boilermakers are going to head down to Tuscaloosa on Thursday, November 13th for what will, I would imagine, be a probably a top 10 matchup at that point in the season, maybe top 15, but definitely a top 25 matchup nonetheless there for Purdue and Alabama down in Tuscaloosa. So that's certainly going to be a lot of fun there. So getting back to the transfer portal again. So the portal opens today, April the 16th, and it will close on April 25th. So that is next Friday. So you've got 8-ish days for these kids to put their name in the portal. And then, of course, as we know, you will have news that comes out a couple days after that, a couple days before, because, of the way that the paperwork gets filed and how long it takes all that stuff to get through. But yeah, we're right here in the midst of it, and it's not going to be as exciting as the winter one. It never is going to be. But you certainly, we've heard from both Alabama and Auburn positions that they're looking to address, fill out some holes on their roster here in the spring, and Nico is going to be the big story, of course, and where he ultimately winds up. But also outside of Nico, what domino effect does he leaving have on, other schools? Again, we've heard Avery Johnson seems to continue to be the big name, the Kansas State quarterback. Does he go in the portal and head to Tennessee? And then in that situation, well, where does Kansas State look? And does this create kind of a domino effect at the quarterback position through the transfer portal? But getting to your thoughts, 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. We have Lewis who chimes in. He appreciates the hip-hop proverbs this morning from Damien.
Very
well done.
We're here for it.
Of course. Jamie texted in. He says, this is a problem across the board. All these kids have been told since they were in junior highs how great they were. They've never been told no, and now they have to face a little bit of adversity, and so it's on all of them and all the people who's pumped them up all of these years. Yeah, I mean, you certainly, I would imagine Nico's probably one of those guys that's been told how great he was since he was, pretty young. And, as we've seen, it's hard for a lot of these guys when you hit that first wall and you realize, okay, I'm not by far the best player on this field anymore. How do you get back to that, right? Are you willing to put the work in to get back to that point? Or is that kind of adversity kind of the end of the road for you? And I mean, we will find out here with Nico, but yeah, I certainly agree with that, Jamie. That is true in a number of cases. Let's see. Someone else says Nico made his bed. Now he has to lay in it. Yep. That's how it works. Dan must not have been listening. He says, they're adults. Good Lord. You guys all act like these dudes are 12. We literally said about 1 million times this morning that they are being treated like adults. Right. And this is the consequence of that.
Absolutely.
But thank you, Dan. Let's see. Somebody else chimes in. They say $1 million is about $999,999 more than Nico is worth. Great example of what's wrong with the NIL system we currently use.
Man.
So he's worth $1.
He's worth $1.
I would pay $1 for him to be my quarterback. He's better than that.
Right. He opens up for your offensive line.
That's right.
Money.
That's right.
It's all good.
That's right. Yeah, it was interesting. So I didn't know about this. I'm trying to remember what is the wide receiver's name. So we had SEC Mike on yesterday on 3-Man Front, and he was telling us a little bit about, back in December, because it came out the last few days that apparently this started in December with Nico going to Tennessee and saying, hey, if I'm going to stay here, I need y'all to make a bigger commitment to go out and get me some wide receivers and some guys weapons to surround me with. And apparently Mike Matthews, who was a big time wide receiver recruit for Tennessee last year, apparently he was considering going in the transfer portal, and SEC Mike said that he interviewed him back in December and asked him, why are you thinking about going in the portal? And he said, well, I don't know if Nico's going to be here. And he said he just kind of brushed it off. And now looking back, he's like, man, so, like there were Tennessee players that were uncertain about what they were going to do because for the last 4 months, they haven't known if they're going to have a quarterback this fall or not. And so just kind of peel back the layers of how messy this situation is and how long it's been going on. Because again, we've known about this for 6 days and this has been going on behind the scenes for 5 months now. So just kind of let you know how some of these things go behind the scenes. Let's see. Someone else chimes in. Nico got bitch slapped by Tennessee. Well,
sweet Jesus.
Didn't mince words on that one. Let's see. Somebody else chimes in. He says a lot of teams are also going to consider the fact that Nico's probably leaving again in the December portal. So
right.
What kind of commitment are you making? And another good point. I think this is a very fair point. You just left a program that you've been a part of for 2 years. You asked them to pay you a certain amount of money. They laughed at you and said, you're not worth that. So why in anybody else's right mind would they pay you that?
Yep.
Like the team that knows you the best and has the most faith in you doesn't deem you worthy of that amount of money. So who in their, you get what I'm saying? Like it doesn't. Okay.
Math ain't math.
I'm not crazy, right? It just doesn't make sense.
The math ain't mathing, dog.
It just doesn't make sense. Let's see. Someone asking, did the transfer portal open yet? Yes, it did open this morning. And if you missed it, the first big splash kind of was Jaden Ott, the former Cal running back. He is going to Oklahoma. So that was kind of the big news in the SEC already here early this morning. Let's see. Alex says, I want us to have a positive situation we can talk about because of NIL. Well, if you find one, let me know. I'd love to talk about it as well. Somebody asking, can Nico transfer to another SEC school? So he can technically, but he would have to sit out this fall. So if he wants to play, which everybody wants to play, he will not be able to transfer within the SEC because he would have to sit out a year. You have to transfer in the winter portal window if you want to be eligible for the next year here in the SEC. Let's see. I've forgotten about this. After the Nico situation, someone says, any update on the TJ Finley situation? Let's see here. What's going on with Mr. Finley? If you missed it, there was a story that came out a couple of weeks ago that he had been arrested in connection to either a stolen car or a stolen item inside of a car that he was driving, and we never could figure out if he had stolen it or is a situation where there was just an item in a car that, was misplaced or what the deal was. But let's see. It is an ongoing legal matter. So no updates there on Mr. Finley. But he's still around. Let's see. Doug, he chimes in. He says, what? Oh, he says he doesn't care about Nico unless he goes to a team that's on Alabama's schedule. Okay.
Hey, Florida State? Nah, he wouldn't fit with Gus Malzahn. Too much running.
Okay. Dan, I think you're listening to the wrong show, buddy. I don't understand what you're saying here. All right. Someone says, where's this portal located? Can I go find it? Oh, man, I wish we could go find it. That would be pretty cool. Let's see. Mike says, what are the chances one of Alabama's quarterbacks transfers? I would say greater than 50%. What about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say 50. Like it,
I'd probably say like 51%.
Yeah.
What I mean by that.
Yeah, like I don't feel like a strong, like if you're Austin Mack, you're kind of sitting of, okay, could I ride this out? Almost essentially what Ty Simpson has done his entire time in Alabama. It's okay, well, if I'm close to it in the spring and I have a good fall camp, I know I'm one play away. So do I ride it out or do I hit the transfer portal where I'll know I'll start, but I won't be in the same situation as far as the playmakers and just the overall atmosphere?
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing because I mean the reality is if someone leaves, it's going to be Austin Mack, right?
Right.
I feel really confident saying that. Doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, but I would be absolutely floored. There's no reason for the other two guys to want to leave, right? But if you're Austin Mack, at this point in the cycle, are you better off staying here with the coaches that you know, even if you're not going to play this year, and knowing that, hey, maybe, you know, if Ty Simpson gets hurt, then I'm one play away, like you're saying, from getting on the field. But you stay with the coaches that you know, you develop for another year, and then you go in the portal in December when you know you're going to have an entire offseason. You could also transfer within the SEC if that's an opportunity that you wanted. It just, I could see that being the play for him, where he sticks it out for a year to develop under the coaches that he's familiar with and that he thinks, you know, give him the best chance to succeed. And then you see what the landscape looks like at the end of the year and you hop in the portal. Let's see. Somebody chimes in and says, I wonder if Nico's dad is the kind of guy that just jumps around from job to job because he keeps getting offered more money. And he says people are saying he got scammed on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. Well,
dang, that's even worse.
yeah. Hate to see that.
Dang, dog.
Let's see. Somebody says, texting in from Minnesota. I can't do that as good as Molly. He says, you guys hearing any Tennessee quarterback portal rumors? I know Sawyer Robertson, Rocco Becht, and Avery Johnson have all been contacted behind the scenes. All would be great replacement options. The one that I keep hearing is Avery Johnson. That seems to be, I guess, the front runner, as it would appear right now. I've heard Rocco Becht as well. Another one that I saw thrown out there as a, you should be interested in this guy, not as a, you know, saying there's anything going on. I mean, if you're Sam Levitt, what do you do if, you know, Josh Heupel gives you a call and you say, man, look, I know you just made the college football playoff. I know, you know, you really like things there in Tempe, Arizona, but man, we would love for you to take your game to the next level and be the next quarterback of the Tennessee Volunteers. I think that's an interesting one. Again, that's a situation where you would want to make him say no or force him to tell you no. But I think that, yeah, those are all interesting names, but Avery Johnson seems to be the leader right now, at least. So appreciate y'all chiming in. Y'all keep letting these texts roll in. 205-834-9450. Y'all are absolutely lighting it up this morning. So we'll continue the conversation. If y'all want to keep talking Nico and the impact of this on potentially some other schools around the college football world, we will do just that. We see you on the phone lines. Keep the text rolling in as well, and we will continue to get your reaction here on the other side. JOX 94.5. 6:38 here. Welcome back in the Wednesday edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien here with you until we hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning, coming up at 7 o'clock. Three-man front follows that from 10 to 2. And then, of course, the Paul Feinbaum Show carrying you into your afternoon. Just a little preview of what we have coming up today on the station. You're going to have Pete Nakos. He's joining Mac and Cube at 8 o'clock this morning. So we had him on three-man front earlier this week. Now he's joining Mac and Cube to continue talking about this Nico situation, talk about breaking the story and where it's progressed since then. And if you just heard Landrum's lovely promo, then you know that we have Scott Cochran, the new head coach of West Alabama football. That's right. He is going to join us today at 11. He's hired a lot of former Alabama players to that staff over there. Going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But very excited to have Coach Cochran on, and then Coach Skip Holtz of your Birmingham Stallions.
Giddy up.
Will be on with us at 11:30 talking about this week's matchup against the Houston Roughnecks as we try to get the Stallions to 3-1.
Let's go.
Giddy up, baby.
I'm telling you.
But for right now, we go back to your calls, your text, 205-834-9450, continuing to get y'all to weigh in on this Nico situation. Let's go to John, who's in T-Town this morning. John, how are we doing this morning? What are your thoughts on the Nico situation?
Doing well, fellas. Before I speak on Nico, the dad, he seems like a cross between King Richard and LeVar Ball. Wouldn't be surprised to see Nico in big baller brand cleats next year.
That's awesome.
I want to kind of use NFL term here.
Okay.
This may be a good thing for NIL because it gives us a chance to have the NFL say reset the market. If you think about it, a few years ago, I can't remember the guy's name, but out of Washington, you had the first interior defensive lineman signed a $110 million deal. The next year, Ndamba ran a $100 million deal. But the first guy played so bad after that, you haven't seen another interior lineman sign anything more than a $40 or $50 million deal because they said it was so bad a play that it just reset that market and dropped it way down. This may be a good thing for NIL because it gives us a chance to reset that market and kind of drop some of this down so that some of these high school kids are not coming out with these $8, $10, $12 million deals like Ryder had been offered. What do y'all think about that? And I'll hang up and listen.
No, I appreciate the call, John. Was he talking about Albert Haynesworth?
Albert Haynesworth. That's what
I was like. Is that? I was like, am I going back too much? Because he played for the Titans, right? And he was like the best. Yeah, and then okay, I was making sure I had that was Albert Haynesworth. Oh man, blast from the past there, John. But anyways, for the Nico situation, yes, no, no. Look, I understand from the standpoint of he felt like the market had moved, and I guess because he got in on the ground floor of it, he felt like it was then his time to be moved up to what the current top tier is. Because when he came out of high school, he was, as far as I know, the highest paid player in college football at that time. And so now he's looking at it, well, you thought I was worthy of being the highest paid 2 years ago. Why do you not view that now? Well, because we've seen you play. And who knows, maybe it is, a situation like this where this will kind of reset the market, or situations like this will maybe put for at least a little while a cap on how much people are willing to pay some of these players, at least until they've seen good production from them. Because that's the thing with like the Albert Haynesworth situation, right? I mean, he was a dog, right? Like he earned that contract. It just all went downhill from there. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the business, right? Especially, I mean, we talk about all the time in sports with you go into a contract year. A lot of times that's players' best years of their career. And then they don't meet those standards the following year because why? They have the security, right? They're not playing for their livelihood. They're not playing for generational wealth anymore because they got it. And so, yeah, I think that's a good point that John brought up there about just kind of how the money markets move and how things adjust based on demand and based on talent and, based on what some of these quarterbacks have given you with your Nikos, your even going back to the Spencer Rattlers of the world and guys like that. Like we've had plenty of examples of guys making a lot of money that, left some people with buyer's remorse. I guess.
You know where Albert Haynesworth went to college?
Did he go to Tennessee?
He did indeed.
Well, there you go.
He did indeed.
It's just a Tennessee thing, baby.
I'm telling you, man.
It's that orange. It gets in their brain or something.
It was 7 years, $100 million. And in that season, he had 13 tackles and 2.5 sacks.
Woo!
Yeah.
Lighten it up, Albert. All right, let's go to Don real quick. How are we doing this morning, Don? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, guys. How is everybody doing today?
Doing well. How's Kaylee? Seemed like she had a rough day yesterday.
I don't know about that one, Conrad. We'll go another route on that one.
Okay, that's
fine. Up there yesterday, Conrad?
No, unfortunately, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be up there with y'all yesterday. But I know Molly, y'all had a good green jacket ceremony for her. It seemed like everybody was really getting into it, so that was nice.
Yes, sir, buddy. But hey, on the transfer portal about Auburn and everything, I think we lost an important player last night with Braden Joyner. I mean, he played a good bit at center last year, so that means we got to go out and find another backup center for Connor Lowe.
And that's where, I mean, we've talked about it for a long time. Depth is where this stuff hurts, and I know y'all had a couple of y'all had a cornerback and a safety go in the portal as well, but I think that was a couple of days ago now.
Yeah, and I tell you what, on that day, Damien and Conrad, I think they left because they know those freshmen, Fagans and Winters, have already beaten them out.
I was about to say,
a really young football. We're going to have a really young football team. A lot of freshmen and sophomores going to be playing. But on the over under of 7.5, guys, what is y'all's opinion on that?
Of a win total for Auburn?
Yes.
I'm sitting at 8-4 right now.
Yeah. 8-4, 9-3. That's
8-4. We didn't say 9. We did not say 9-3. We said 8-4.
No, Damien, I'm saying 9-3. That is my prediction this year. I'm not gonna change my mind like I always do.
Well, either way, the over is the play.
Well, I hope so. I mean, hey guys, it better be, or he might be a goner.
Well. We will.
Well, who knows, man?
We will see. But yeah, we're sitting at 8-4, Don, and you can have your 9-3. Appreciate. Thank you for calling in, Don. Always enjoy talking to you.
Like we specifically said, 8-4. Yeah, 9-3. Yeah, no. We 8-4.
Possible. I would say 9-3 is just as likely as 7-5.
Right, but you have to. I think the first game of the season is extremely important.
Yeah, you can't let Walker White come and whoop up on you.
Yeah. And there's an Alabama Kobe Prentice. He's available. Yeah. So it's just SEC on SEC at this point.
Yeah, best of luck to both of those guys in the future. All right, we've got a lot of your texts we still got to get to, so appreciate you continuing to send those in at 205-834-9450. We're going to go to a break, come back, and we will wrap up with more of your text on everything going on with the transfer portal and Nico Iamaleava. You're listening to Morning JOX.
6:50 here on Morning Jocks. Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order here with you at the top of the hour. We will pass you on to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Been dealing with a lot with the Nico Iamaleava situation, and you want to talk about confidence. He is his confidence through the roof. Brother must have taken some Blue Chew, and I'm telling you, man, Blue Chew, it's an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. It's an online prescription, so you don't have to worry about going to the doctor. No awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in discreet packaging. You let Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient strength for your prescription. And listen, you can get this for free. Go to BlueChew.com when you got some time. Just no rush. It's going to be there for you. You go to BlueChew.com, you get your first month free when you use our promo code JOX, J-O-X, at checkout. The only thing you got to pay for is $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Use promo code JOX to receive your first month free. And remember, your boy DM6 told you, just chew it and do it.
Well, appreciate you joining us here on your Wednesday morning. We got a few more minutes to go here on Morning Jocks, and we are going to spend them with you and your text messages on the Courtesy GMC text line. We're going to try to get to all of them if we can. So we have someone here chiming in about the Alabama quarterback situation. They say, talking about Austin Mack, they say, I would stay because I just don't think that Ty Simpson is going to be QB1 for long at Alabama. And, you know, maybe that's part of it, right? If you feel like it is neck and neck, I mean, we know what Ryan Grubb said, right? If Alabama played tomorrow, Ty Simpson's going to be the guy. But if you feel like the gap is pretty small and with a good summer workout, and then when you go to fall camp, you're still in it, right? If you feel like you legitimately, you know, have a chance to be the starting quarterback, then yeah, I could see you staying. But I think everyone wants him to stay. Certainly. It's just, you know, it's the world that we live in now, unfortunately. Let's see. Jimmy chimes in. He says, 100% Nico is a one-semester rental for a program with a coach on the hot seat. It has to be a desperate situation for anybody to want to stick their neck out for him. And I kind of agree with that, right? Now, if you give somebody a big discount, I'm sure that they would, you know, take a chance on a guy like Nico. He has a lot of talent, right? If he can continue to develop, I think he can be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. We just hadn't seen that. And now, where are you going to find a better situation to be developed than the one that you had with Josh Heupel? I don't think we're going to get that. Steven chimes in. He agrees. He thinks that Nico's dad is going to end up being the next LeVar Ball. I really hope not, because that means that we're going to have to see him on ESPN like every day. And
so you tell me he might swerve and bend the corner. Whoa. My fault.
No, that's going to be Nico's song. That would be Nico that does that.
Yeah, because he is tweaking.
Well, actually, does he have a brother that doesn't play football? Because that would be like Jello.
Right.
That'd be like the equivalent, right? Like the one brother that wasn't cut out to be an athlete, so he became a rapper. Let's see. Joseph, he chimes in. He says, I find the Carson Beck and Nico situation similar. Both didn't play well last season. Both asked for more money, and both teams refused to pay them what they asked for. Yeah, and I do think the Carson Beck situation is a good one, because I do think that was clearly a situation where Georgia said, okay, we just won an SEC championship with our backup quarterback. Why do we feel the need to go out and pay? Because we're going to lose one of these guys, right? And I think you saw enough from Carson Beck to understand that maybe he isn't quite the quarterback we expected him to be. And I do think also, you know, the situation with his, at the time, girlfriend, I do think that played a part in it, right? You can go live as a rich college kid in Miami, Florida with your, you know, famous girlfriend. I understand why you would want that opportunity.
That'd be hard to pass up.
Well, it hasn't worked out for him, but
you just need a little Blue Chew. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. And a girlfriend. Let's see. Someone else chimes in. They say, can Nico apply for unemployment benefit? That's funny. Let's see. Somebody says, yeah, Nico's dad went to the LeVar Ball School of Shameless Son promotion, but unfortunately he wasn't able to graduate. Oh, here we go. All right. Well, I'm going to just assume that the answer to these questions is Texas A&M. John Mack texts in, what women's tennis team just won the SEC and is about to win an Addy? You know what? I'm really going to go out on a limb here, John Mack, and say that it's Texas A&M.
Congratulations.
Really happy for
really happy for you.
For the Aggies.
There we go. They win in other things, not football.
That's right. We have another text. It says, 3 things on the Nico subject. 1, I hope nobody picks him up this year in the portal. Make an example out of him by showing that players can't run the show. Make him sit a year. They also say, is Damian still a Heupel disciple? And is UT still in the running to be Damian's team again this year?
Absolutely. I am. Yeah. The Heupel discipleship ain't going nowhere.
But they've gotten knocked down a couple pegs now?
Absolutely not. What they did with Nico, they moved up.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
All right.
The only team that's been eliminated is Texas A&M. I'm still at 15.
Let's see. Someone said Nico to Florida since Lagway is hurt. Well, he can't do that in play this fall. But yeah, the Lagway situation's interesting. With his injury, and will he or will he not be able to throw? And yeah, that's not a good one. And someone said, wasn't Cam a 1-semester rental for Auburn? He was, and you won a national championship. So
and a Heisman.
That's right. Matt, Corey, and Kublik in the morning. They're next.